Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. Today's episode is going to be quite a little bit different from any episode that we've done so far because this episode I'm going to record over 2 days in two separate podcasting sessions. Now, the reason I've decided to do this is not to exploit my life for content, but I was thinking today, and I would really actually love, just for my personal sake, to capture this moment, what I'm experiencing right now, my anticipation, my anxiety, my sadness as well, and fear, and then juxtapose it to what life is going to be like tomorrow after this moment of anticipation, sadness, anxiety, and fear has passed, hopefully successfully. Basically, the reason I am doing it in two parts is because today is the day before I go and defend my thesis, and the day before my studenthood ends, the day before my entire conscious life, my entire life up until now concludes. And this I just really wanted to capture because I am really struggling to navigate this as I'm quite overwhelmed by the academic material, which is somewhat preventing me from dealing with my feelings in a way that I feel is appropriate, in a way also that I feel is going to benefit me. I am coming in here without necessarily having thought about my feelings, without necessarily having felt my feelings. In fact, what I've been doing in the past 2 weeks, while still conscious that it's the last 2 weeks of my current life, I have been somewhat suppressing these feelings because I know how much of those feelings is actually fear, and feeling that fear wouldn't have been helpful over the past 2 weeks. And the past 2 weeks, I would say, have been quite eventful and have been quite emotion packed, and every single day has felt like a year in itself, which has helped me have a richer experience over those 2 weeks, but also has made their navigation a bit harder. Basically, tomorrow I defend my master's thesis. My master's thesis is on the topic of cancel culture. I conducted a survey, an online experiment, and I submitted the text itself last week. And tomorrow, Wednesday, is when I defend it in front of my supervisor and my second supervisor. I practiced so much. My script, my presentation. First, it starts off with a 15-minute presentation, and then it transitions into more of an examination, oral examination, if you wish, or let's present it as an conversation so that I don't stress myself about the fact that I'm being examined. Um, in which my supervisors are going to ask me questions about my thesis, about my methodology, or stuff beyond my paper and beyond my presentation. And I have reached a point of, no matter how much more I practice, no matter how much more I try to prepare, I won't prepare better in the last 15 hours of this. We tomorrow, my entire supervisors group is going to defend our thesis, and I'm quite lucky that we are in total 5 people. I'm the second one to go. I am so thankful that I'm second instead of last, because if I had to sit the entire day with the anxiety, I would have really freaked out and I wouldn't have been able to deal with it better or well. But now being second, that means that I can have a slow morning, ease myself into it, practice once or twice more, and then just go and prove to myself that I can do it and prove to them that I deserve to be a master's graduate. Now, I'm really scared. I I'm not necessarily so scared of the presentation and the questions that they're going to ask me because I know I know what I wrote, and the one of the many positive sides of me not having used AI in the writing of my thesis or in any aspect of my thesis is the fact that every single word that is written on there has been intentionally put by me and has been thought of by me. And every thought process which this thesis outlines is my thought process. So this makes it easier for me to stay closely connected to the topic. And that actually made it easier for me to prepare for the presentation. Because for this defense, I had solely 4 days to prepare. I mentioned last week that I had my last ever exam. And only after that exam could I fully devote to the defense. And what really helped me in this, what I would say, quite a short amount of time with the preparation, is the fact that I was very cognitively engaged throughout the whole process of starting the research, doing the research, analyzing the research, and submitting the research. And I think this gives me an upper hand because whatever they ask me, in terms of my paper, I know why it's there. I know that no one fed me those ideas, and I know that they're my ideas, and I feel proud of them. And tomorrow, I basically need to go and justify my ideas, which I believe I know I can do because today I was presenting it to my housemates and I made this collection of 70 potential questions that they could maybe ask me. Those are questions which I collected from online resources from people sharing their experiences with their thesis, and some of them are actually PhD defense worthy questions, but still being able to give answers to those questions has really helped me ease my mind in terms of whether I'm prepared or not. And me presenting it to my housemates and being within the time limit every single time because we're under a strict time limit of the presentation for the presentation has also eased my mind because some of those times I get distracted or I stutter or I lose my train of thought and I still stay within time. So I know that for those stuff I don't necessarily need to worry, and I just hope that my supervisors are not out there approaching me with the mentality of let's get her, let's trick her, let's trip her, but that they approach me rather as a leveled individual, a leveled mind, a leveled academic that deserves respect and doesn't need to prove why she's worthy of being there. Because I think I've proved myself time and time again. So the reason I am feeling fear is not because of the presentation itself, although, so basically, throughout today, because I took a few days off of work so that I can focus solely on the thesis without any distractions. And at a certain point, I was done with my preparation. But it gets to a point where it's like, am I done or am I just not doing enough? And I am the type of person who would always think the latter. I would always be like, I'm not well prepared enough. I could do more. I could be better. I could do this and this and this and this. But at a certain point, I need to accept the fact that sometimes I'm just done and I've done my job, and me having extra time doesn't need that I need to fill it with extra work, which would be appreciated, but would also stress me out more because it's a work I've already done. And me having this time today, first of all, I spent it watching Dean Withers' last participation on Jubilee's YouTube channel where he debated 20 MAGA women. And so basically, I spent 2 hours of my day rage baiting myself. I would just like to say that Dean Withers is so much more patient and so much more well articulated than I would be in such a situation. And I respect him for that and I thank him for that. Um, But I would never. I would not be able to contain myself. My patience would be gone like this. But I think that conversations like the ones he had with these 20 MAGA women are crucial to have, because they make you question, is critical thought on a decline? The answer is yes. Is analytical thought, analytical skills, are they fleeting? Are they fading away? The answer is yes. But also, it's important so that we bridge the gap between these two, let's portray them as polar opposites of the political spectrum, which are quite radicalized in a sense, but one of them justifies their political stance with actual facts, and the other side just says stuff for the sake of saying stuff, which I'm no one to judge someone who says stuff for the sake of saying stuff, because this is how Dirty Martini was born. But anyways, so I spent 2 hours doing that. I worked out, I practiced some more, I answered my questions, I did this and this and this and this, and at a certain point I was just done. And because I felt thoughts and emotions brewing up, my avoidant self, my avoidant emotional side kicked in. And I was like, I need to not feel this, because if I feel this, I'm going to be an emotional ruin. And basically, I went for a walk, then I sat on a bench and I read a book. But throughout the book, throughout the reading, I was more or less more um reading in between the lines and thinking those thoughts that I was so desperately trying to avoid. Because today, in the rare chance that I allowed myself to feel something, oh no, I feel like a crying session brewing up. It's okay. I most likely will cry when speaking about this. Keep this in mind. If you're off put by emotions, grow up. I just cannot help but think about 19-year-old me. Shit. 19-year-old me who packed her life in a suitcase and a carry-on bag and moved to the other side of the continent, not knowing what it means in terms of what her life is going to look like, but also the way she's going to be shaped as a person. She had no idea what she was getting herself into. She came here not knowing anyone, never having been in this country, not speaking a single word of the language. And she came by herself. And she sustained herself by herself. And I'm so proud of her. And she really, I really overcame a lot of hardship. I've, throughout these 5 years, I've battled with being the distant family member, being the distant friend, missing out on such core parts of my family and my friends' lives, but also them missing out on core parts of my life. I've dealt with not having friends, having to build an entire life for myself in a social context where everyone already had a network. I had to continuously prove that I deserve to be here, to sit on the table alongside people who, and I recognize I'm very privileged, but people who have had a more privileged upbringing, people who have more experience than me, and I've had to sit through this intimidation, this intimidating context by myself, and I've had to do things scared. And I'm proud of myself for not giving up. And I came here with a goal, and tomorrow I am fulfilling this goal. And I went through a similar thing when I was graduating from my bachelor. Um, I was again going through an existential crisis. I didn't know where I wanted to be. I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know anything. I felt so directionless. And that's why I just didn't allow myself the chance to think. And I immediately did a pre-master after the bachelor so that I can postpone this not knowing these questions by 2 years. And I did postpone it. And tomorrow the deadline's up and I still don't have these questions. And I don't know where I want to be. And the thing is, postponing now is different from postponing 2 years ago, because 2 years ago, I'm sure I felt old, but I knew I was young, and now I know I'm young. Don't scream at the screen that I'm young. I just feel like I'm running out of time, and I'm only 24, and I don't want to feel like I'm running out of time, because what am I rushing for? Who am I rushing towards? Um, and I just hate feeling this time pressure, even though like there's no timeline and I'm not running out of time. I know that I'm not running out of time, or at least I'm hoping I'm not, but I just feel it like it. And I don't know how to navigate it. And I'm just scared. I really am scared because technically as of tomorrow, first of all, there's nothing holding me here anymore. I fulfilled the goal which I came with here. And there is no next step to my education, which is the sole reason I came here. So, and I don't have a job here that is like, I mean, I have a job, but like, I don't have a career here. I don't have family here. I like don't have anything holding me here. And I really feel so stressed, and but at the same time I have nothing holding me here, but I don't want to leave because this is like the only place I've known adulthood. And how do you leave the place that shaped you into the person you are if the person you are is the person you love, like it's your best version yet? And another reason that really scares me is that tomorrow, on a random Wednesday, in such an anticlimactic way, my studenthood is going to end. And my entire life, my entire conscious life, I've been a student. And I know I complain about studying a lot. And this is why also I don't necessarily get why I'm going through what I'm going through. Is it Stockholm syndrome? Is it just routine? Is it just inertia? Because I didn't necessarily have the easiest of times being here in terms of studying. I That is also because I came here to study and I wanted to study. I didn't come here just for the sake of being abroad and being a mediocre, let's just pass student. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what I came here for, because I came here from such a far away place, from nowhere in the middle of a country that a lot of people here have never even heard of. I came here from a town that no one necessarily goes away from. Like, sure, they'll go to Sofia, but that's it. And like, opportunities like the ones I had were not presented to us as attainable. And the fact that I got this is something I don't take lightly. And I recognize I'm so incredibly privileged, and I'm so incredibly thankful to my parents for giving me this opportunity and for allowing me to be the daughter far away. even though I know it wasn't very easy for them either. I'm thankful that they supported me throughout this entire journey. And I'm thankful that I can call them every single day and complain or boast, and they'll be like, I'm here for you. I'm proud of you. I support you. You've got this. So I recognize I'm very privileged. I recognize this. I'm trying not to be blind to my privileges because, especially to people where I come from, this doesn't happen a lot. Which is why I think recognizing this privilege made me want to be the best version I could be. And I didn't have the easiest learning experiences here because of that, study experiences, because also I had to work alongside my study, and majority of people I've met in my bachelor and in my master's have not had to work alongside their study. They've had the chance to focus solely on their study because they've been supported by their parents. Now, I've been a self-sustaining woman for quite a while right now. I've been financially independent for quite a while right now, and I recognize that this itself is also a privilege, but it's also hard work and it's determination. And it was not easy. And doesn't matter if I graduate cum laude or not, I did this. And I did this while my hard work outside of university was devoted to me being able to sustain myself so that I could go to university. And that's what kept me stressed, but that's also what kept me going with the mentality of, oh, maybe when I graduate, it's not going to be that different because I'm still basically learning and like studying and working, and this is 6 or 7 days of my, if one of you did 6 7 right now, I just want you to smack yourself in the face because I cannot do it through the screen. And I'm working 6 or 7 days in the week, and I don't have time off. So how much more difficult could it be? Now, I have two things to say to this. The reason I feel such a difficult time letting go of my studenthood nowadays is because I really enjoyed the masters. I really enjoyed, well, I didn't love statistics, we all know that, but I loved the process of learning. I loved performing well. I don't know if then I enjoy the process of learning, or did I enjoy the process of performing well? The different conversation. Um, but this year I just implemented a life-changing technique, and that is taking breaks. And I know it may not sound groundbreaking to any of you, but it is radically different for me compared to what I used to do for the past 4 years. Because I didn't used to take breaks, and I would study until 2, 3 a.m. and then wake up and study and like go to work, and then from work to university, and from university home so that I could study. And it was just this vicious cycle of exhaustion. And me implementing a single day of break every week has been life changing because it has allowed me to stay sane. It has allowed me to reset. It has allowed me to be human. It has allowed me to deal with what I've experienced throughout the week. And it has allowed me to just be. And I really, really wish I had implemented this in the previous years as well. I really wish I knew then what I know now about myself, about the way it's most sustainable to live my life, to prevent burnout, or at least diminish it to the best of my abilities. I really wish I knew it back then, but I didn't. And I guess it took me not knowing to eventually learn. And I am happy that I learned this now, but I really wish I had learned this earlier because I think this would have made my experience here way more pleasant, and I would have had way less things to complain about because I was just exhausted. For years, I was exhausted because I didn't have a break, a mental, a physical, an emotional break. And I really feel like we underestimate the power and the importance of breaks. And the other thing I'm worried about when it comes to me, like s- switching to a full-time job, which honestly I'm not necessarily going to go and start looking for jobs tomorrow. I think I want to give myself the grace of a few months. I'm privileged enough to be able to have my job at this place where I currently work at. Um, and it allows me to sustain myself. So I think I would stick there for the time being so that I can allow myself the opportunity to step back, take a look at everything I am and everything I want to be, and realize how is it that I get from the person I am to the person I want to be. And a reason I'm scared is not only because they're not employing, I'm scared of employment. I am scared because people always tell me, enjoy your student years, they're the best years of your life, and they're such carefree years. And I think this is a very privileged way to look at studenthood and being a university student, because the people who have told me enjoy those are the best years of your life are people who didn't have to sustain themselves throughout university, and they have the chance to go to university and after class go out and socialize. Whereas for me, I finished class and I had to run to go to work. So I do regret not socializing as much. I do regret not making as many friends as I would have loved to, but I had to secure physical survival first. And I'm hoping to get the chance to explore the social side later on in life, although I feel like the older you get, the more difficult it is to make friends. Um, but you know what I'm scared of? I am really, really scared of working. And I please don't play this put this into the context of, oh, these Gen Zers, they're so lazy, they don't want to work, nobody wants to work these days. No, I mean, I'm not scared of the work itself. What I'm scared of is, where does my life fit within this? Because yes, technically the workload is going to be less because now I study, I go to work, I come back and I prepare for my study the day after. So I am more or less on the clock, around the clock. And what I'm worried about though is being crushed by life in terms of employment. I am scared that I'm going to devote so much of my days, so much of my time, and so much to my life to a job that does not fulfill me, and a job that is just draining. And I'm I'm terrified of a 9 to 5 that is going to dictate my entire livelihood and my entire lifestyle. And I'm just scared that I'll never be able to take a day off on a Wednesday so that I mean, I will not have to study, but I'm just scared of it being very rigid. And me, for example, now with my 0 hour contract, I have flexibility available to me. And for example, I can take a few days off if necessary. But with a standard working contract, you don't have that flexibility. It's more rigid, it's more set in stone. It's from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, which, however, takes you an hour to get there and an hour to go back. So it's your entire time awake, basically, with the chance of having dinner and then going to bed. And I am just scared that I will become one of those people who will perceive my student years as the peak of my existence. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not having fun right now. I I am burnt out, but I am having fun. I am enjoying the person I am, which I think was the defining aspect, the switch which really made me enjoy the masters, because I became comfortable in my skin. I became comfortable in my mind. With, of course, sometimes it's a fluctuating relationship, of course, but the majority of my time I really appreciate myself, and I really think this was a defining aspect. um but I am scared that I'll perceive this as my peak years, even though those are years I didn't not enjoy. It's just years I felt quite stressed continuously, constantly, and I don't want this to be the peak. I want to not perceive this as the end. I want to perceive it as the end of this chapter, but not the end of the book. Sure, I'm opening up maybe a new book tomorrow if we so wish to separate my life and eras, but I still want to be a writer even if I finish this book, and I want to be able to write the next one. And I would just hate if this is the peak of my life. I would like to continuously improve myself. I would love to have the chance to be more financially stable so that I don't have to constantly, every single day, obsess over money and have to buy the off brand. Like, I've bought Bitterol and not Aperol for tomorrow because I would love to celebrate with a little cocktail, because I don't think I would be able to handle all of this sober. Um, but I just, and also I'm not dependent on alcohol. I drink alcohol like once every few months. Don't worry. It's just I know tomorrow, no matter the result, I would love to celebrate because it's also the beginning of summer. And speaking of, this is technically my last summer break, my last summer vacation, because although maybe I would never get employed and it will be a Phineas and Ferb type of summer, 365 days of the year. Um, I just don't want this to be the best. Yes, I want to remember my student years fondly. I want to think of them as a time I enjoyed, but I don't want this to be the most enjoyable time of my life. And I really don't like this narrative of, oh, the 20s are the best time of your year, so your student years are your best years, they're the most carefree years. It wasn't carefree for me. And I think I really had to terms with the come to terms with the fact that I'm just having a different experience. And me having a different experience and me not having a carefree experience does not make my experience worse, and does not make my experience less worthy than those of people um who have the chance to go out and explore and travel and socialize every single day. I just don't want to perceive this as the best years of my life, because if this is the best, what is the point of continuing? Is the point of continuing past your prime so that you can reminisce on how good it was and then never do anything good with your life again and never be satisfied? I don't want this for myself. And I don't think I'm determined for these to not be the best years of my life. While I enjoyed them, I want to perceive them as the I am having a nice time yet now, but this I want to be the worst time compared to everything else I'll experience in life, because I want to just continuously become more and more satisfied. And I know it's not a linear path, and I'll not always be fully satisfied, and there will be moments of dissatisfaction and moments of three steps back instead of one step forward. But still, I don't want this to be the best, because if this is the best, then I don't see a point of continuing. Because for me, the purpose of life is to live. um Crazy, I know, like, oh, what a crazy concept, the purpose of life is to live. But when I say live, I don't mean just exist. I mean live a happy life, a satisfied life, a content life. And I know that there's many different definitions of happiness and contentment and satisfaction. And I know that it's not solely internally determined. There's external factors that also play a role. But I wish that for myself. I wish that for you too. May today be the best day of your life yet, and the worst day of the for the rest of your life. May every day be better than the next one, and may you find purpose, and may you have the courage to follow that purpose and fulfill your goals. And I just want to repurpose this fear of growing up into curiosity, into the seeking of knowledge, into excitement. And I think I am on the right path in terms of becoming a person I respect and being a person I love, because I respect myself and I love myself, which would send that 19-year-old me into a coma. And I honestly am very, very thankful that I have my journals, my diaries from back in the day, so that I can see what are the experiences I went through and see how much I've grown. And I don't want to undermine my journey and my growth, because I did this. I did this and no one can take it away from me. And I want to prevent myself from, and my intrusive thoughts from taking it away from me. And I just now am thinking about this younger me when she came here. And in high school, I was quite outspoken. I was quite extroverted. I didn't have any problems with public speaking. And then I came here and I could no longer raise my hand in class. I was terrified. I had a panic attack on the first day of school, and I didn't know what panic attacks were. So I just thought I was dying, simply because I had to give 3 nice facts about myself, fun facts about myself. And one of them was like, I like Harry Styles. And just thinking about this innocent, nothing suspecting child coming here with a sort of ambition, but she didn't necessarily know what she was getting herself into, so she didn't know what to be ambitious towards. So then I would no longer raise my hand in class. Then if I had to give a presentation, I would have a panic attack. And I would, the first time I didn't have a panic attack in when giving a presentation in my university years was when I gave a presentation and the lights of the room were off so that we could see the screen, and I was like, no one can see me, it's fine. And since then I've been becoming better at presenting, but it's just like, and now tomorrow I'm not worried about the presentation. And I think this also signifies that type of growth, that I regressed in terms of my extroversion and my publicly speaking abilities, and then I built myself up. And this is something I want to be able to take with myself after I graduate. Um, because there are probably going to be moments in which I regress. I want to have the chance, the opportunity, the time, and the ambition and the motivation to build myself up back again. It is very scary, man. It is very, very scary. And my friends are saying, oh, this is so exciting. I'm so happy for you. I'm jealous. Like, I want to graduate already. I think I'm just someone who overthinks a lot. I think I'm someone who feels very deeply and is very sentimental. And I think I'm just taking stuff beyond their meaning, beyond their trivial meaning, to give them some symbolic meaning and carry them with myself deeply. And this is something I like because it leads me to lead a meaningful, according to my criteria, life. But it is very heavy. It is very heavy to navigate at times. It is very overwhelming to feel all those feelings, and just think all those thoughts. And my entire life, my entire conscious life, I've been a student. I've been in the school system for 17 years of my life. And in those 17 years, I have divided my year in academic and calendar. And in those 17 years, I have always had to prepare for exams in February and in June. I have always had to study every single day. I have always had to complete assignments. I've always had to do exams. I've always had to do presentations. And I've always followed an assigned to me structure of what my days and what my progress should look like. And being defined by these plans that someone else assigned to me, this progress, this pattern that someone else assigned to me, has been annoying at times. It has been overwhelming. There have been times when it's not been interesting, but it's definitely made life easier in terms of self identification, because I've never had to think about what is it that I'm going to do on October 18th, because October 18th was already in my schedule, already in September, and I knew what classes I was going to take. I knew what literature that class was going to cover, and I knew what was expected of me. Whereas now, when these structures are removed, I will have the freedom to build my own structures and build my own foundation, carve my own path. And this is liberating because I can do anything I want and be whoever I want. But apart from liberating, it feels very daunting. It feels chaotic and it feels scary, because my entire life I've been defined within those structures, to the point where a big chunk of my identity has been ascribed to those structures, and now this part of my identity is ripped out, and I'll no longer be a student, and this void has to be filled. And it's like, who am I if I'm not a student? Who am I if I'm not a university student? What do I do with my Tuesday evening if it's not prepare for my Wednesday class? What do I do with my summer if it's not read the assigned summer literature? What do I do with my winter short days in which I experience burnout and depression if not explore statistics? It's very, very scary if your entire life someone has ascribed you an identity, and then one day, one uneventful, one random day, that ascription is taken away. And it's like, figure it out. And I really wish, of course, at school, we don't, like, we're taught a lot of un I don't want to say unnecessary, but stuff that we don't necessarily put into practice. I really wish more emphasis was put on things that we actually should prioritize in terms of, who am I beyond my contracted 9 to 5, beyond my academically defined September through June. Um, I really wish more tools were provided for self exploration, self discovery, and self navigation. But I guess this is not something that people can prescribe you. It's not something that people can guide you through. Then I guess it's just an experience that you need to go through yourself. But going through this, and I'm not saying I've not thought about these polemics, so to call them, over the past 24 years. It's just now I have to think about them without having this ascribed big chunk of who I am and the role which I occupy in society. And it is difficult. It is difficult to start this journey now and to always feel like you're running out of time, you're behind, and having lecturers come in and fearmonger you about AI and telling you, well, actually, what you studied is already being replaced by AI. So half of the jobs are not going to be available when everything is being cut down. So good luck, Charlie. I am scared to navigate the person I want to be in such a fast-paced, changing world. I am scared, but sometimes you have to do things scared. And there's no matter how much I try to postpone it, I cannot hide anymore. And no matter what I experience, I hope I find satisfaction with myself as a person and then in any other social role which I occupied. Because at the end of the day, the opinion and the experience for me personally that matters the most is that of the person I see when I look in the mirror. And as long as she's happy with the path she's taking, even if she doesn't know what path she's taking, that's okay. And I just want to remember that I don't need to have everything figured out at 24, and that actually way more people were pretending to have their shit together than actually have their shit together. And I want to be able to be okay with change and redirection and inevitably rejection as well. I want to be okay with the fluctuation of my self and identity that are coming my way. I want to this midlife, well, not midlife, hopefully not, but like quarter life crisis that is onsetting and I'm fully going through to be kind to me, and I hope I navigate it with grace. Um, Speaking about this honestly made me feel much better and it validated my existence, and that's why I'm forever thankful for Dirty Martini. And I may not know who I'm going to be tomorrow. I may not know if tomorrow's going to go well. I may not know where I'm going to go in terms of geography, in terms of achievements. But what I hope I do in this process of exploration is treat myself as the human that I am and be okay with my expectations sometimes not being met. Be okay with failure, rejection, and celebrate the small wins. And whoever fills up that void, whatever future version of me fills up that void that is going to be there when the title student is removed. I am scared to meet you, but I'm excited to meet you and I'm excited to be you. And I hope you're kind to me. And I hope you're kind to yourself. And I hope you're proud of us. And I may be scared to walk towards you and open up this next chapter. But even though my hand will be shaking as I'm writing the next pages, I'm not going to run out of ink, and I'm going to write it, even if my handwriting is ugly, even if my hand is shaking, even if it takes using white out sometimes, even if it takes sometimes ripping the page apart. I'm going to keep writing. With that being said, this actually ended up being longer than I anticipated, and England and Ghana's water break is well past its time. Um, thank you. Um, thank you to my parents, my sister, my grandparents, and my friends back home for all the support over the past years. Thank you for always welcoming me home, even when I've been away from home for such a long time. Thank you to the friends I made here for being my friends, for being my chosen family, and from being my safety net in a place where I felt scared initially. And I want to thank myself. I want to thank myself for all the work I put in the last 5 years. I want to thank myself for not giving up, even though there have been many times I've wanted to. I want to thank myself for the consistency, persistency, and determination. And I want to thank myself for doing the best she can with what she had. And even though nowadays I just start reflecting on my journey here, and I cannot help but think, did I do I have regrets? Did I live to the best of my abilities? Did I say no even though I wanted to say yes many times? And I really don't like having these thoughts, because having these thoughts indicates to me that maybe there is something there that I'm not dissatisfied with in terms of how it played out. So I forgive myself. I forgive myself for saying no when I wanted to say yes. I forgive myself for saying yes when I wanted to say no. I forgive myself for not being as extroverted and as outgoing and as socializing as I would have wanted her to be. I forgive myself for working as hard as I did in order to sustain myself instead of going out and having fun. I forgive myself for the burnout. I forgive myself for not knowing then what I know now. I forgive myself. And I thank myself, and I'm proud of myself. I did this, and no one can take it away from me. And if this degree ends up not serving me in life, then definitely the lessons which I learned along the way outside of university will serve me along my life. And I made crucial connections to other people, but also to myself. And coming here by myself forced me to become an integral part of my life, which I know sounds a little bit ironic, because it's like, well, obviously you're an integral part to your life because you're you. But I had always perceived myself as a secondary character. So I want to thank myself for becoming the protagonist of my life, not just looking from the bench, but actively playing the game. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. Turns out I'm actually going to record a separate episode after the thesis defense. Please, fingers crossed that everything goes well. And I'll see you on the other side when I'll no longer be a student. And this is the last day of my life, and tomorrow the rest of my life begins. And while scared, I'm excited. With that being said, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye.